Hi guys, welcome back. Oh my god, I can't believe it's August already. The summer is flying by, and I'm happy to say, knock on wood, wherever wood is, we haven't had that bad of a summer. We did get down to like 87 degrees the other day, which was for Nevada is amazing. And we haven't really gone above 110, or if we did, it was maybe for one day. I mean, sometimes we can get up to 118. It could be brutal. Normally in August, like July is our hottest month. It's just awful here in July. But August, it's funny because the first 2 weeks of August, it's usually like hot like it is in July. And then it starts to cool down. Come September, it starts to get really comfortable. Usually the temperature goes down to 90. Remember, I am in dry heat, not hot heat. I mean, I'm laughing at some of my friends. Oh, it's been 90 degrees. It's 93 degrees. And I'm like, "Ugh, God, we do that in our sleep." Yeah, so the kids go back to school in like 2 weeks. I can't believe it. We go back earlier than we did in New York. In New York, they didn't go back till after Labor Day. And here they get out really early. They get out in like the beginning of May and they go back in the middle of August, which is better than what we had when we first moved here. It was awful. My kids were in elementary school, one of them was, and she had year-round school. Now, I don't think they have that here anymore, but it was the worst thing ever. The kids, first of all, they need a babysitter at that age. So you didn't have a set schedule. You would go to school for like 6 weeks at one time and then change and do 6 weeks in another time. And then they would have like 6 weeks off. And that would be in an oddball time. Like, and they would do this through the summer. And there were days that we had, I remember she was once on a schedule where she had to go to school the day before Christmas. It was like no time for anything and like go back like the day after Christmas. It stunk. So luckily they don't have that here. I don't know if they have it anywhere else in the United States, the year-round school, but we survived it, and I could say we survived it. So let's get back to some learning. And today we're going to discuss gray. A couple of weeks ago, I had one of my subscribers. They asked me if I can go through what to do with grays, because I've kind of been bending the rules a little bit in some of the blends that I've been doing. And I gave you some specific rules at the beginning, and we're going to expand on them today. What were the beginning rules? Well, we said warm gray goes with the warm colors, cool grays go with the cool colors, and French grays go with the browns, or the nature colors. Okay. Well, that's great. That is for beginners. That works. It works for advanced too, if you wanted to stick with those rules. But art is meant to break the rules, and there's going to be times where those rules do not apply. And today we're going to talk about what happens when those rules do not apply. So I prepared a little thing so that we can go through this really easy. And I put the color wheel, the colors from the color wheel. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and brown. Then I put the warm colors, and I wrote out warm and cool. So let me just go with you over, for the new people too, what is warm and what is cool, and what are the rules on that. Well, you're going to think of the sun, and I know this is going to be review for a lot of people. Think of the sun. What are your fire colors? Red, orange, and yellow. Warm. Even to think about them, it's warm. Then you have your cool colors, the color of ice. Well, you have your greens, your blues, and your purple. Brown would be cool also. When it comes to purple and green, it's a little bit on the iffy side. If your green is a green blue, it's a cool color. If your green is a yellow green, it's a warm color. If your purple is a bluish purple, it goes to cool. If it's a reddish purple, it becomes warm. So those are your two colors that are really on the boundary. And we're going to have to think about this when I'm going to give you some of these rules today that are going to break the main rule of warm with warm, cool with cool. I got out 70% in the warm, the cool, and the French grays. And I'm working with 70% because that's where your shadow colors are going to start to come in. And basically, what you're doing with your grays is you're toning them. When it comes to the grays, you want to think of tint, tone, and shade. Okay? Now, whenever you're tinting a color, you're going to add white to that color. That's what is referred to as tint. Shade is anytime you add black to it. Okay? Now, in the middle is going to be tone, and that's where you're going to get your grays in. Tones are your most important part of color theory. Now, I want you to think about tone in a way of a light, a medium, and a dark tone. Grayscale is your tones of gray. You can do the toning by having your reds. You can do all tones of reds, which would mean everything that goes from light to dark would be your tones. When you have mid-range tones, you actually can change the color pencil that you're using from one mid-tone color to another, and it would not affect your picture. That's why when we're thinking about tones, you don't really have to think in color. You have to think in grayscale. So if you're doing an apple and you're using all mid-tone reds, your apple is going to be very dull looking. You want light tones and dark tones. Okay? You're going to achieve those type of tones using your grays. So just to review for a minute, warm colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple are the cool colors. Green and purple can go either way, whether it goes to the yellow side or if it goes to the red side, it would change to react with the other type of grays. So now we're going to break the rule, the first rule that I had said. Warm colors go with warm grays, cool colors go with cool grays. Now I'm going to throw the wrench in for all the intermediate students. Okay, so now let's take a look at the grays themselves. Cool gray is a blue gray. So now let's take a look at the warm gray next to it and compare it. Okay, cool gray is towards the blues. Warm gray is towards the greener grays. Now, the French gray is the brown grays, and you can definitely see the difference in all three. So they're going to react differently with the colors. Now, the first rule that I gave you was that warm grays go with warm colors, cool grays go with cool colors. Now I'm going to throw that wrench into it with the color red. So I'm going to blend some warm gray into the red. And you can see it's not bad. It's not a bad mixture. I wouldn't say it would ruin your picture. But if you look at it really close and you get a good blend of what it's going to be, it's on the dirtiest side. If you use cool gray in it, you get more of a natural shadow color. We'll just blend that up. So while it's not much of a difference, the red does go much better. Now, when I am shadowing reds, I use indigo blue. So here on the cool side, I'm going to add a little bit of indigo. And then add that in with the red. Blend that up. And that's where you have your true natural shadow, is when you use the indigo. So while it's not wrong to use the warm gray, remember that red and green make mud. And since the warm gray has green in it, you're going to get a little bit of that muddier look. Where if you switch that over to your cool grays, which is your blue, it would end up being a more purplish color and a natural color for red. So that's the first rule we have just dispelled. Now we're going to look at the oranges. Now, orange is a very difficult color, okay? Actually, orange and yellow, but orange has the red. Now, this is probably the hardest one to comprehend out of all of these. Orange is made from red and yellow. So it's a warm color, but since the red does not look good mixed with green, neither does orange. And orange, I think, is even worse. But also, orange and blue make brown. Brown could be an uglier color. So just keep in mind that if you're going to mix a gray into your orange, either do two things. One, go to a darker orange color if you want to tone that color. Go through the ones that are in the pencil set. And there are plenty of them. Pumpkin orange looks beautiful. And here's, I think, this is orange hue. And if you want to darken up your orange, use an orange. Now let's take a look at the warm. You're going to get an earthen tone when it comes to oranges. And so if you're going to use grays with the orange, do it in like a nature picture, a landscape. Now we'll take a look at the cool gray. I'll just blend it up with the orange. It actually becomes very similar. So really using either, I would stick with the warmer color and just use gray with orange when it comes to landscaping. Maybe the edges of leaves that are turning, or when you're creating soil. Other than that, it's not really that pretty a color blended. And I would just go with a darker orange color. So that's going to be the new rule for orange. Now we have the yellow. Now yellow is blanketed. Yellow and gray do not blend at all. When you're blending or toning a color, you want it to become a darker version of that color. So when I did it with the red, I wanted it to be a darker red, a toned red. When it came to the orange, it doesn't mix great because of the yellow. When you get to that yellow, no color whether it be warm. I think I'm using the cool, yeah. Doesn't make a difference because no color, no yellow mixes with gray. You're not going to get a different tone of the yellow no matter what you do. Do not try it. The only thing I could say is that if you're working with something with yellow and you need to put a shadow on it, use your black, because your black will shade yellow. And you're going to do it, you're going to create your picture, and the very end, you'll do the black and use it very, very sparingly. Now we're getting to the green. Now, the green is going to become easier because it's going to mix with your cool grays. And look at it become a darker green immediately. So it mixes nicely with gray. And I have my green here. And even without blending it, it's already turned a darker version. So I always go with cool when it comes to gray. But if it has a lot of yellow in it, you can use the warm. And I'll show you what the warm looks like. It's not bad. It's just, okay, it's not horrible, but stick with your cooler color, especially if it has the blue in it. Now, the blue, without a doubt, mix it with your cool color. It will mix nicely. It immediately turns to a different shade of blue. A darker version of blue, which is exactly what gray is supposed to do. Immediately tones it. Okay, now if you go with the warm, you're adding the green in it, and you're going to get a completely different color. Let me get out my... Now if I add the blue to the warm, you see the mud? It's getting muddy. Where the blue on the cool became a darker version of the blue. So pretty much it's a stable, and you use your cools. Now I'm using a very dark color. I used purple hue with this. I don't know if it's going to show up or not because that's pretty dominant. I probably should have gone with a lavender. Okay, so that's cool and warm on the lavender. And this is the cool, and it becomes a darker version. It's probably going to turn dark anyway because this color hue is going to dominate over the gray. And purple and green do not mix anyway, so yeah, it's not much of a change. I would still go with my cooler color on that, but it's going to make a difference. This is warm when it comes to the lighter colors. See, that really didn't create a different purple. It just turned it muddy. A muddier version of it. Now, if I use the cool gray, and then I use the purple over it, or the lavender over it, now, I'm not sure if you're seeing what I'm seeing in the camera. The lighting might not be good, but this becomes a darker version of the lilac. I thought I was using lavender. I'm using lilac. Now, with the green, with the browns, I wouldn't even bother using cool. I can demonstrate it. it turns to mud immediately because of the brown. It's not attractive. You can use warm, but it's not ideal either. What I do recommend, and the warm is definitely turning a nicer shade than the cool when it's completely blended. This is a much richer brown, where this is a much muddier brown. Now we're going to just take a look at our French grays, which is a whole different story. French grays are a brown gray. Brown would not mix with red. There's no real reason for you to do that, because you're just turning it into mud. Same thing with orange. It's not a pretty shade of orange. You're not going to get a nice shade out of it. Add French to the green. It's a green. It's a nature color. So you're going to get a better blend using French gray with the green, because you're going to use this with all the earthen tones. And green is an earthen tone. This is, you get your brown blue mix. Yes, those were my pencils. You're not getting any sort of different blue out of that. Not like you do with that. Don't even bother with this. It won't even show up on this. Where you have your French grays is over in your browns. And this is exactly where it belongs. Your French gray goes with your brown. Goes with tans, any of your tan colors. Some of your skin tones. When you're mixing your skin tones, if you're using the darker color skin tones, a French gray does look good. So those are your intermediate rules. Your beginner rules are warm with warm, cool with cool. French with earthen tones. Your new rules are reds go with cool gray. Orange, go with a darker mix of orange. Don't try gray over your orange. Yellow, do not use gray over yellow. Avoid that. And any color that is highly yellow. With your green, you use your warm because it's a green gray, or your French. With your blue, you're going to go with your cool blue. With your dark purple, either way, it's not going to really matter. I would go with black and just shade it. And your brown, you are now going to go with your French gray. Before I end this video, I just want to say that I'm going to go into this more on the CMW channel. It will be covered extensively over there. And for those who ordered your books last week, really, I didn't get them out. They're going to be late. I'm sorry, but you're not missing anything more because I haven't done another video. I've done, I think, 6 of them over there already. And so I'm really sorry. I'm trying to get my life back to being normal. You just got to give me another couple of days to get my head back together. It's getting better, much better, but really. So I will see you guys in my next video. Take care.